Not, not really.
Okay,
You're gonna-
that's on
but
the,
you're
yeah, the
gonna
little stuff.
Show on this, or
He's showing them that, I know. Bring it to the whole go around.
bring it to the middle so that.
Everybody can wrap around it. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, meeting was scheduled for 7 o'clock, and if, no one contacted me that they weren't coming, but as you can see, only 3 of us are here. I'm not going to waste your time, so we're still going to have the architect and the engineer show you what they're going to show the committee, and then, you know, it'll be an unofficial meeting because we don't have a quorum. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? This way, you know, he's going to be, I guess, Greg Sonnenfeld, he's the architect. Paul Calabrese, he's the engineer for Belmar. They'll show you what they have planned for the 3 buildings, 5th Avenue Pavilion / Taylor Pavilion, 8th Avenue, and 10th Avenue, where the lifeguard, police headquarters, and first aid is going to be. And then the final item on the agenda is the buy-aboard signs and what it looks like. We are hoping Suzanne Hannon would be here, who's on the committee. She is the person that designed our Belmar logo, and she's very good with colors and everything like that. And we're going to hope she would.
There you go.
Speaking about Suzanne. All right. So again, I don't want to waste your time. I know Mike wants to get home and watch the 7th game of the NBA. So if we're going to take any questions, Mike goes first.
I have a question, Brian. Are you going to be reviewing the same material again when you have a quorum and discussing this stuff?
I would think so.
Is that going to be in a regular Thursday meeting, or are you going to schedule a special meeting?
We're probably, I don't know for sure, simply because we would want to get these plans pretty much to the council so that we can send them out to bid, so that building construction can get started ASAP after Labor Day.
Yeah, because, you know, not only do we want to see the plans, some of us would like to see the discussion of the plans too, you know.
Well, this meeting, of all the meetings you wanted to go to, this is probably the meeting you want to be at, yes, you know. But obviously, out of the 9, we only have 4, that wouldn't be a quorum, so nothing officially can be done. And again, this is an advisory committee. We can say red and bring it to the council and say, we want the red, and they'll say, oh, we want blue, you know, so they go with blue. But at least the architect is giving us options, and we're going to report back to the council what options we think are best.
Just one more question. Are you going to meet again before the next council meeting?
The next council meeting is in July. It would depend on the availability of the people that aren't here, so I can't speak for them, so I would like to.
Would you make that, would you announce it on the website or some kind of, you know, make
Yeah,
that?
well, I'll get back to Colleen and see, you know, she's going to have to contact these people to find out what they are. Now, we're going to let the engineer and architect talk, and we'll probably ask them questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. If you have any questions or suggestions or ideas, all right? But right now, I'm going to let Greg
Just
Sonnenfeld.
introduce yourself and the other people up there for those of us who don't know. I don't know.
My name is Brian McGovern.
Okay.
I'm Suzanne Allen.
John Hutchinson.
Bill Ludington.
Greg,
Sorry.
Bill Ludington.
Greg Sonnenfeld.
Thank you.
And I'm Paul Calabrese.
Okay? You got it, Greg.
Okay, which way should I face?
You know what? I'd rather have the audience be able to see what you're doing, and we could probably sit out
Yeah, we'll
here.
go back here.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
That's probably better. Can you see? I mean, not, if you could come up a little closer, that'd be better. Sit right here next to this guy. Pardon me, I'm sliding. Sure. Thank you. Sorry about that. No problem. Okay, what we're gonna do is, Excuse me?
Go ahead, Greg, right there. That's what happens when you're so tall there, Mike.
It's in front of me.
We're going to start off with 10th Avenue. And on 10th Avenue, what we've done is we've consolidated the services, the town services. What I mean by that is we have the lifeguard stand here now. We have the first aid is there also, and then there's a small police substation. Okay? Well, the concern of the committee was that we would try to get a concession stand in this location. And we actually did that. We have an 800 or so square foot concession stand as part of this building. Now, let me take you through it. If I would have known, I would have put it on the board, so I'm going to try to take you through it. If you don't see anything and don't understand it, please interrupt. Just so you understand what we had to deal with. The boardwalk is at elevation 13 most of the time. Sometimes it's at 13 and a half. Our finished floor, okay,
That's
is at
13 feet
18.
above the sand?
Well,
It's in real space,
In real
13,
space.
that's roughly, depending on where you are on the sand, but it's roughly 5 feet above the sand.
right, so let's look at it as our finished floor is approximately 5 feet above the boardwalk. And that's what we have to deal with. So we have a couple issues. We have the barrier free, and you can see we have ramps on both sides to make it handicap accessible. And then we have a series of stairs. So our buildings are pretty much elevated by 5 feet at the boardwalk. So what we have here, the other thing that we have to work within is pretty much of what we call the deck, which is the elevated part, platform to fit our building in. Because if you want to explain how we had to work with, what
We
was
have a
that?
couple of things here. First one is the FEMA V-zone regulations. You know, due to the storm, that elevation has raised the requirements in the V-zone, which these buildings will be. That required us to bring these buildings up to the elevation 18. And that is just to let the, the large waves that could come again pass under the building so it doesn't damage the building. That's the purpose of the raise of the building. What Greg also was bringing up was the footprint. The DEP came out with a rule that says you needed to we could reconstruct without a permit as long as we keep within the same footprint. What that means is the same square footage that was there before is the same square footage that can be put back. And that is the areas that Greg was given to work with and how he developed where he came up with on the programming.
Okay, so that being said, to get up to this area, we have a ramp that you can see here and a set of stairs that comes up from the boardwalk up. We come to a deck area that gives us access into the lifeguard suite and the first aid suite. The first aid area has a workstation, closets, counters. It has an exam room as well, a shower and a bathroom. The lifeguard, there's 2 bathrooms in a lifeguard, janitor's closet, closets, another office, and then access up to the observation tower. And you'll see what it looks like on the elevation, but you'll see the number of stories here. The police substation's small. It's got a bathroom in it, cuffing bench, a couple desks, and a couple couches, or a couple chairs, I'm sorry. And then, like I said before, we have a concession area, so whoever takes the concession, when you see these buildings, the common theme is we don't know who's taking the concession, so we're just giving space. We're giving access to the outside, but we really don't know who's going to take it, so you're just going to see a big square there. The concession has direct access and serving to this large area, so there can be outside dining and services off that section there. On this side as well, we have handicap access and a set of stairs. Now, the lifeguards obviously have to have connection to the beach, so out of the lifeguard area, there's a deck and a set of stairs that runs down to the sand, and on the lower level, there is storage area, some secured storage. What happens here, because the building's so high, the lower levels pretty much free space. We have to, we have to design it so the walls blow out, and you'll see that in the elevation. But that space underneath the first floor is for the storage of the buggies, the boats, the oars, and things like that. We still have to work out how that is situated, but the space is there for them. Now, from the lifeguard, there's a set of stairs on the inside that has access. The police can use the stairs to get up to the observation tower. That brings you up to an intermediate area where there's mechanicals. The roof becomes flat in this area where you can put rooftop units on, so we can easily service them. And then the stairs will continue up to the observation platform, where you can go outside. There's a deck that wraps around both sides, and at this point, you're very high, and the police and the lifeguard, everybody can see the beach. Okay?
When you say you, you're talking the police and lifeguards, not the public?
Not the public.
Okay.
Not the public. The public access in this building is the concession area, and then obviously if they need first aid and so on. So that being said, what we did was we worked on the elevations and came up with something like this. Now, bear with the colors. The colors aren't finalized yet. We were under the gun to make this presentation, so the plotter, computer and all that kind of stuff kind of got away. But the view from the boardwalk, which is right here, okay, our finished floor is at this level here. So the bottom part of this platform that I was telling you about on the floor plan, that all has to be designed to blow out in the case of a storm. So our first thought was, we'll call that skirting. Our first thought was to copy the color of the deck, the boardwalk decking, and run it horizontally, maybe an inch space between it to allow air to flow through, and then design it so if there's any kind of storm, that'll blow away. That'll rip off. It'll allow the water to pass through. So that's why the base is this color. It doesn't match exactly, but you've all been to the boardwalk, so you know what the color of the decking is going to be. This obviously is our tower. This is the beach elevation. So when we're at this point here, there's a deck that wraps around, and this gives us obviously a grand view of the whole ocean side. These are the two overhead doors that...
Greg, can I just interview? We had a meeting with the lifeguards, and this is something that they requested, because now we can have the chief lifeguard and his crew stay there, and on rough days, with binoculars, see the entire beach. And with radios, they can contact each lifeguard stand from headquarters. This is something they've wanted for years, but where we were at 10th Avenue Pavilion, it wasn't practical. So with the replacement, this is why we're going with the tower. And this would also help the police in some type of a situation. If they're looking for a lost child or looking for someone in particular, they can stand up there in the tower and observe better. That's the purpose of it.
Now the materials, we're in the process of researching the materials, but our first thought is to use a fiber cement panel. Are you familiar with, anybody hear the term hardy panel or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. I have some samples, but we're going to use the clapboard siding as well as a shingle style siding. That material has a very long warranty. It's great against the weather. Yes.
Okay, no, after you're done.
The weather, the salt, the wind. So I think it's a heck of a lot better than vinyl siding, and I think it fits into our budget as well. Sorry.
Is there access to the concession area from the beach?
Not in this location,
Okay.
but that's something that we could think about. There was a couple other buildings you'll see that does have access from the beach to the concession.
Is there access to the handicap from the beach, from the handicap ramps from the beach?
I don't think there's an entrance to the beach.
Yeah,
there's-
from
there's-
the-
Like
this one.
if I have trouble walking and I want to go get something to eat, I have to go up to the boardwalk and in, rather than go from the beach to get in.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, all
That's
right,
correct.
as it is now.
Yes.
Do you think it would be hard to get beach access
Yes.
to the concession area?
On the handicap side, it is because we're going to be, this building, based on the elevations, is gonna be over 10 feet above the sand.
Okay,
So to get a ramp at that length.
but even stairs from the beach.
Oh, well, on this one there isn't, but the other buildings, as Greg will show, actually
I'll
go
show you
upstairs.
the
This one,
access, yes.
Because I see
It's all
stairs
not
right
that
there,
stairs.
that's for the
That-
lifeguards.
that- exactly.
Okay, all right,
Exactly.
all right, good.
Right.
I have a question about you talking about material that will break away in a storm, that
Yes.
the wave will push it through. And my concern is what would be that material, because a lot of the boardwalk ended up going through our houses. So if it could be a material that would be a little bit more gentler.
Well, see, no, that's a good point. We still have to design the detail. When I say break away, I don't mean shatter and float away like glass. No, that's a good question. I'm trying to come up with a panel, a blowout wall panel, that if the water hits it, it'll come out in chunks
Well,
rather than
that's pretty much
shards.
what the boardwalk.
Right,
but,
right.
you know.
And we still are a little
It's
bit away
just
from
something to
that.
consider, that
Yes.
if that's something that's gonna blow away, that it might be a lighter material or something, not quite as heavy as the Trex or whatever, I don't know.
Paul, we didn't have a blowout skirt on the boardwalk.
Yes.
Which prevented the water from going underneath the boardwalk, which made the water rise and lift the boardwalk off. Is that basically what happened?
well, during that storm, I mean, it just over inundated it. The skirt was screwed on well, so that skirt wouldn't blow off. When we do build the skirt for this boardwalk, that skirt will be designed to come off.
So
the
that it
boardwalk doesn't get
doesn't
damaged.
lift up the,
Boardwalk, so the whole boardwalk doesn't come into people's yards.
right, okay. That was one of the flaws in the engineering of the old boardwalk, was how tightly that skirt was bolted on.
What's the overall height on the 10th Avenue?
The overall height,
I think you said 41 feet,
38.
38?
The observation tower, the floor height on the observation tower is 38.
And what's the top?
I'm going to scale it for you. I'm going to say roughly to the peak,
50.
roughly 50, yeah, to the peak.
And so most of the roof line is 38?
This roof line here?
Yeah.
No, that roof line there, most of that roof line is less than that. Most of that roof line is about 28. That's to the peak, right, this peak here.
Can I just ask you,
Yes.
one of the weaknesses that's going on up there right now, unlike what we had before the storm, there's a lack of bathroom space up there. So, and there's no mention in your diagram of bathroom access. Could you explain that?
That's a good point.
Yes.
I'm gonna pass, I'm
The,
gonna shoot it right over here.
the intention is one of twofold. Worst case scenario, we don't get any sort of help from the DEP, and what I mean by that is like, we have to get a permit. What will happen then is some of the concession space will be utilized for public bathrooms. We prefer not to do that, obviously, because the larger concession is just, you're gonna get better stuff for the patrons. The existing bathroom trailer, the rental, that's down in that location, the plan, or the hopeful plan is that rental will become a permanent trailer. Obviously, we'll get the permanent one to match the other permanent ones, but there'll be a permanent trailer put back there that never was there before.
And the advantage of that, Paul, is because the trailers, which technically can be portable, can be at the same height as
The boardwalk.
the boardwalk.
Right.
Restrooms in this permanent building, everyone would have to go up 5 feet just to get to the bathroom. So there is an advantage by having a so-called portable trailer for the restrooms.
Right, good.
Where does this building start with relationship to the entrance to the 10th Avenue beach? Because I can't tell from the drawing.
No, you're not gonna be able to tell from that. What do you think, Paul, down here?
Wouldn't it have to be the same footprint?
Oh, you did?
Where the old pavilion was?
Well, the pavilions were being switched between the square footage is a tenth and the square footage is 8. So, the simplest way to look at that would be on this drawing. We're at 10.
While we're looking at it, Fred, can you tell about why those white doors on the beach side for the lifeguards?
The overhead doors?
Yes.
We have the overhead doors there to to allow the guys to drive the buggy in and whatever other piece of equipment they have.
Store the boats.
Plus the boats, they have to carry the boats side by side, so we actually measured it, and we need the width.
So at the end of the day, all the kayaks and paddle
Right into
boards
the-
and the tournament boats can be stored inside, locked and protected from the general public instead of being left out on the beach. And that's the advantage, one, of the boardwalk being so high that we can use that storage space underneath the building, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Essentially, it's, here, if I just show it to you. It shows you 10th Avenue entrance. And the building will sit pretty much right here where the old building was, the beginning of this old building at 10th, and it'll go only to about this distance.
Where was the
So the
larger
old-
footprint?
so this is kinda like
Or
that.
the old one?
The larger
Bench
footprint
area.
was on,
You know what the bench was?
Yeah,
It was like a
before they
few benches.
replaced it.
Yeah, there were two buildings at
Right.
10th, two buildings at Mike.
So
Yeah,
you see the-
that's right.
One big
Right.
size of the
Right.
middle. It'll
So
stop
the,
at end of that first.
This will basically be in front of the Mayfair.
right.
And this is where that bathroom is
The
now.
objective
open to your
of bringing the larger structure to 8th Avenue?
name.
I think one thought is that
This building is smaller.
down there, you have the Samosa building, which no one lives in. You have the 7-Eleven, which is retail, you have the pizza place. So you would have two buildings in front of some buildings that is not a residence,
That's a good explanation.
okay?
And you'll see that, you'll see when we get to those elevations, how that comes into play. Okay? Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go right to those buildings.
Greg, why don't we do Taylor Pavilion first?
Taylor Pavilion. Forget about what I just said.
So Brian, is this 2 floors?
Yes.
Yes, and before anyone gets all upset, years ago, Gordon's Pavilion, which had a pool inside it, was 2 levels. So historically, there is, you know, a reason for
Good use,
use.
I think 2 levels would be nice.
Well, that's really what the committee, directed me to go, to try to work out. And what we did was, again, when you look at these, we still have the same type of platforms, we still have the handicap accessibility on both sides. But in this case, because it's such a formal building and it's got such history to it, and the fact that the lake is in front, there's no buildings that we're blocking, it almost creates a center access, which works off the entrance to the building. So we added a third entrance, and none of the other buildings have the entrance from the center because it would choke down the boardwalk in so many different locations. In this case here, we had a little bit wider area to work with. So what we did was we still have another ramp. We have 3 handicap accessible entrances. Ramp, ramp, and then a ramp coming across the front. Coming up to the landing, and then we also have stairs. Then we come into a center entrance. So the object was to utilize this space on the first floor with multiple different uses. We have the women's club, right?
They do meet there on a regular basis on every Friday.
Right, and there was a certain requirement for the women's club to have a little kitchenette, to have their own storage. We also have the seniors club has use of the building. They have their own little storage area. But what I did was, because we're going to possibly have banquets on the second floor, okay, I created a separate entrance for the banquet facility. But not only separate for the banquet facility, it also doubles as the main lobby for the first floor. So we have access from the center, and we have access from the side. Now, when we come in from the side, there's a large lobby, there's a badge where you can buy your badges, similar to what Taylor was before. Everything happens on the inside because it was requested to happen on the inside. So this is a public lobby, badges are here, we come in, we have movable doors here. So this large open space is really the multipurpose room.
That's where we would have our summertime arts and crafts programs, our Monday night dances, Monday night concerts, down on the first floor, and it's just about as large as it always has been.
Right, it's approximately 2,600 square feet with an occupant load of approximately 200 people. Now, the good thing about this is we've incorporated movable partitions, and we have access to all those spaces. So there could be 3 functions going on at one time. You close the door, you close the door. You have access from this lobby, you have access through this lobby, and you can come in from this entrance and connect to this lobby via a gallery. And what I mean by a gallery, it's just a wide hallway that can double as an art gallery for local artists, kids. And that, you know, we have the windows up high so the art can be displayed on the wall. So it's just not a hallway to connect, it becomes an experience. And what happens is you come through that hallway into the main lobby where we've got incorporated some aquariums, so it's a nice, it's a nice space. You're not just going from one space to the other.
And can I interrupt again there?
Yes.
Well, we said 3 spaces. Again, a lot of times during the winter, we could be having tonight's meeting down there and also be having another meeting for the youth club in it. So we can, because this building right here wasn't designed for meetings, okay? This was designed, we moved in here at 1986. So we're gonna try and use this so that we can, during the winter months, during the fall, utilize tailored pavilion in a better way than it was in the past. So you could have 3 meetings going on at the same time, or you could have one big meeting and a smaller meeting.
Right. That's why I needed connection points, so you wouldn't get landlocked on one side and not be able to get into the other spaces. This wall back here is going to be all glass. It's going to be we're looking into a folding type glass door, which kind of folds up. So you almost, when you have the concerts outside, the outside is almost inside. You know, it's unobstructed views and it's airy, and these are very long span doors here. This side here is the concession, similar to the concession that was there in size. They have outdoor dining. We can wrap around the back as well. There's your beach access over here. That brings you up. Egress stairs for the 2nd floor. Elevator over here. Now we come up to the 2nd floor. We come up if the 2nd floor is a banquet, you can have weddings up there. The occupancy load up there is approximately 150. It could be more. The 150 I use is tables and maybe 6 people at a table and then the dance floor and things like that. But we can get at least easily another 50 people up there.
You said 150?
It's 150 with tables.
We also project that maybe we could have professional seminars up there. You know, some companies might want to bring down their meetings there overlooking the beach on a nice fall day, nice spring day, quiet, nothing going on downstairs, and view of the beach, and it's large enough to, you know, accommodate them, small enough so that they're not in a giant room.
Right. And there's another movable petition. It's a good point you bring up. If you have a small conference up there, there's another movable petition here that doesn't. You don't feel like you're in a big empty space. There's a prep kitchen up there, just an area. We haven't laid anything out yet. We incorporated a dumbwaiter. There's also a conference room for meetings, a smaller conference room, and obviously the bathrooms to support it, as the bathrooms are to support the 1st floor. We also incorporated, you'll see on the elevation, there's a balcony out in front, just a place maybe people want to go take pictures and see the backdrop of the lake and the town that way. And then on the outside, to the rear, viewing the ocean, there's a balcony out there as well, that if somebody's going to have a cocktail party with high tops, they can go out there and enjoy the outside as well.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You said cocktail party. I don't believe they had liquor in Taylor Pavilion, so what does
We have an ordinance of a BYOB.
ordinance of BYOB?
Yes.
Okay. Is that, when you say we have an ordinance, is that something you're proposing passed, or
Yes,
just?
it's been in effect for about 18 months.
But liquor is not allowed, it's only beer and wine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jim.
Okay?
Can I just ask you
Yes,
a question
absolutely.
about the kitchen?
Yes.
I mean, you just said as a practitioner, you don't foresee having ovens or?
No, we don't have that kind of space. Yes.
So what are the key new features of this Taylor pavilion as compared to the old one?
The large open spaces?
Actually, the second floor. Everything on the first floor is basically the same, except for the entrances that would lead into a little lobby.
I think also the storage and the segregation of the spaces are.
Better storage.
Yes.
If you remember, Taylor Pavilion was built after the fire, after they burned it down in '79, and it was just one big building. It was just huge. And then everything else was added on by our DPW, the bathrooms there, the kitchen there, the storage, and it just never worked out. Now we have a chance to do it properly, so it's the same downstairs as before, but better designed, and it's also gonna have a second floor.
Balcony on the second floor?
Yes.
How big is that? How wide is it? How deep is it?
It's, put my glasses back on. 8 feet by 90. So it's pretty much the length. And 8 feet, but again, we're kind of restricted also where we can go with that.
With our footprint.
That's on the east side. What about on the west side? There's a small balcony.
There's just a very small balcony
overlooking the
there.
lake.
Yeah, just maybe 4 feet by whatever this length is, maybe 12 feet or so.
Just
We're
a
thinking like if
question.
it was a wedding, the bride and groom would like to have the picture with the backdrop of the lake behind them.
Since
No
FEMA will
pushing.
only, since FEMA will only pay for what you had and you juggled footprints around, how did you manage to do the second story? If they only, like I know other communities have had problems with, they want to do something a little differently, FEMA won't pay for it. How did you manage that?
Yeah, FEMA, my understanding is that FEMA pays for replacement cost of what you had.
Right?
So then anything that's, I guess, more costly would be something that I guess the borough would work out. I guess
Basically, they
that'd be
may
cool.
only pay for the first floor and not the second?
Would they pay for what was there? So in this instance, yes, it would, I guess, be the first floor.
So that way, will they, what, is it done on a square footage basis? I mean, do they, that,
What they do is they take the old plans or photos and do the best they can based on, not historical data, I guess it's called means data. It's, estimating data to come up with what the building was worth, some typical to like what an insurance company would do. And then they propose that's what they would contribute to the,
so I take it, given the second floor space, which is just amazing, that the world will be looking at, or for us, they were looking at through state rental costs and so forth.
Maybe pick up the expense through rentals, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Taylor Pavilion, we had so many requests for family reunions, weddings, other, and it got to the point where we said, hey, maybe we can make this pay for itself in the long run.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a real showpiece for the town.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Yes?
Nice.
It's more for Brian. You're talking about having a wedding in a place like this, and you said that the liquor is only BYOB and beer and wine.
Right.
But if you've been to weddings, you know how people want to drink at a
No.
wedding.
No.
No, so, I mean, would there be a temporary wet bar kind of a permit for a wedding?
I don't think so. In other words, Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The ordinance states, like beer and wine, and we have had weddings there, and they do have someone, go in and monitor, and we haven't had any problems.
Okay, all right.
Would I be naive to think that someone did? No, I'm not. I'm sure
Yeah.
if they're discreet, they probably got away with it.
But I mean, if I, as a resident, I wouldn't have a problem with a temporary permit for a wedding, maybe, if there was a way, but I mean, you don't want it all the time, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm a neighbor right here, and you're right, I don't want it to turn into a Barclay.
Right,
where
right.
There's a wedding Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, you know, or a double wedding. And I would think the council's gonna try and put something in here where when something's going on downstairs, nothing upstairs, because most of the people coming there are gonna be driving, and it's gonna impact on the neighborhood.
Right,
And
right.
you know what, I'm in the neighborhood.
And who will be scheduling those events?
It would, well, when I was recreation director, it was the recreation director that did it. Now it's kind of, I don't know how they've broken it down. It could be tourism doing some, could be recreation still, special events, you know.
Okay, and
Oh, just one other question.
Oh, nice.
How many bathrooms total are in the building?
Nice.
4?
oh, no, fixtures or
No,
bathrooms?
bathrooms.
In this building, yes, 2 men and 2 women. Number of fixtures by code covers a lot.
Right, but 2 upstairs, 2 downstairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. This is from the boardwalk. There's the entrance I was telling you about. And what happens is, if you might even see it over there, the historic photos and everything. This element here, you can see, was on the building years and years and years ago. So we kind of pulled from that and kind of work with it. And the materials kind of tie together. A little bit of metal and a little bit of color kind of tie the buildings together. The area behind here, this is your gallery over here, so these windows are a little bit smaller. This is your bathroom over here, so we really don't want the windows too low. And then up top, in the multipurpose room on top, there's the larger windows like that. This is the balcony here. Might be a little hard to see from the distance, but there's the railing here, and one of these doors open up. And then in the rear, that was when I explained to you about the glass, that's all glass. So when you're on the first floor, and you have something going on, these things lift up and you're outside. You don't know where the inside and the outside begin. And then there's the glass on the.
Parking.
And the glass will meet code for.
Oh, yes,
for
absolutely.
wind and
Yes,
hurricane.
yes.
Yes, for the second floor
Yes.
deck, there won't be any outside access to the second
No.
floor deck, just inside?
Just inside, yes. Correct. And on the side here is the rear of the concession area with a canopy, a cover. It's not a canopy, it's more like a metal roof structure, a pent roof. And then there's a pent roof on the other side there for protection while they're serving.
And there's a stairway going up there?
There
Will
is
be for beach access?
There will be a stairway going up there. That's very good. I didn't show that. It should be over here somewhere. Right.
So does that become another beach entrance? Because that would be an on-off from Brian, like it's a way to get around the gate almost, unless.
Well, what I didn't show on this one, you'll see on 8th Avenue, I'm sorry, yeah, 8th Avenue.
There's like a
There'll be a
separation.
badge checker there
Okay.
to control it. I just didn't show that on the plan.
And quite honestly, adding another gate attendant is probably another good summer job for a senior citizen who days, today's Monday, I have to go to work and everything like that, so it's, it's a good thing. Certainly an extra badge checker is not gonna break our beach budget.
There are ramps that are gonna go up, because one of the things when they constructed the boardwalk was the slope of these ramps to be more compliant with ADA. Is that gonna be kind of the case here? Because I don't really see ramps that are going up.
It's a
Point
little
out
bit,
steps.
yeah, it's a little bit hard over here to see the ramp, okay? It's a little bit hard because of the color. There's the ramp over here.
Oh, I see.
And then there's the ramp. In all cases, we don't need to have 2, but we put 2 just for convenience. You don't want to
Okay,
have
so it's gonna
something-
go up, around, and then go up
Exactly.
again.
You're gonna come up, come to a landing, turn around, and then come up.
I see.
In that case, in this building, because we made that an entrance, we had the 3rd ramp in the front. So there could be a drop off and a person could come up. And they'll all be, ADA accessible.
So, okay, so the women's club will be meeting in the,
Downstairs.
Downstairs, right over here.
right over there, and that's,
We'll be leading
leading out towards the beach side.
So this footprint is no larger.
Oh, no, no.
Go ahead. This footprint is no larger than what was there. This is the exact same size of what was there.
Footprint
For the
wise.
storm footprint,
Yes.
except for the second.
Second floor, exactly.
So the desire to have the gallery inside is what's
It's behind here.
dictating those windows being that small.
Exactly. They're 3 by 3, so they're small, but not that small.
If you were designing it from the outside in, would you have made those windows that small?
I think I still would have, and the reason is because we've kind of created some sort of rhythm here. As you can see, the rhythm, when I say rhythm, it's small, 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 then it's crescendos up to the peak here. So as you can see, it just gives you some rhythm like that, breaks it up, because it's a very long elevation.
Is there anything underneath this building for storage or?
No.
What about heat and air conditioning up?
Heat and air, we haven't exactly figured that out, but that's going to be up here somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Do you have an end view yet?
not yet.
Didn't the older buildings have like, almost like these frames built
Yes.
into the outside and?
Well, that's also a good point, because that's what we're going to do here. We're going to emulate that as well, with the trim and the different, you can't see the texture of the different materials, but we're going to do that.
And that color is not set, correct?
It's not set, no.
Because, I don't know, Bill, you probably remember better than I, you're the photographer. Well, they're much lighter, right, the buildings?
Yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah,
to,
they were different.
I'm hoping to make them much lighter.
I think the color is working against you here, if you just want my personal opinion, because that drab brown is
Yeah.
not very beachy looking.
Well-
Combined with the dark roof, you know, that's, I think, and.
That's what I'm saying. It's
picturing
very
in my
hard.
mind
It's-
the older light beachy building with the frames
Right.
and,
It's very hard because
Right.
the way that color came out. Okay?
right,
But this also is going to be much, much lighter color.
okay.
It's going to be somewhere in these colors. Okay, these are two grays. One's a warm gray and one's a cool gray. Okay? It's going to be one of these two, potentially even a little bit lighter, but we're kind of limited to what the manufacturer.
That's
can provide.
hardy board.
That's the, this is hardy board, yes.
I had looked into that for my house, and the one thing that I was told about that is that over time it needs to be painted, and that's why I did not use it.
Yes, but over time, meaning 10, 15 years down the road.
Okay,
Right.
that was too soon.
So on the beach side, is that it's elevated 5 feet, that's just dead space?
Down here?
That's gonna be just empty
Yeah,
space?
those are the piles. So instead of us looking at the piles,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to maybe incorporate a skirting around it.
That's a fair amount of area there.
Yes.
I'm just thinking,
Yes.
there's a pretty long waiting list for beach lockers, and I'm wondering if maybe lockers could be built right into the wall there. Maybe you can get like 20 lockers or 10, 15 lockers.
Writing it down, Dave, writing it
I'm
down.
going over it right now.
That's a good one.
Premium one.
Premium lockers,
Yeah, charge extra.
showers, restrooms.
More revenue.
I vote
Yes.
for light gray.
Will the
brown.
public have any access to the balcony or anything? Like the residents, if you want to just go sit, if there's not an event going on, will this just be totally?
No,
rental?
we closed
It'll
down.
close?
No.
Okay.
Simply because you can imagine all the things that would go wrong if anyone could just go upstairs or use the elevator.
My reaction is kind of, it's very utilitarian. It's like a Days Inn that I stayed in Ohio. It has this, no, and really, even the proportions. I mean, I know that, the thing about the rhythm, but even these windows and relationships, it's something that's been going on in building now for about 20 or 30 years, but the windows are too big for the shape.
These windows are too big for the shape?
No,
These windows.
Well, actually, the ones on the end especially.
These windows.
Yeah, these and those. I like the idea of the gallery, but the other thing is, for once, I'd love to see Belmar embrace the past in some way. It's not, we can't afford to build something like the Gordon Pavilion again, because it wasn't 8 by, or 4 by 8, construction. In those days, Victorians did all kinds of wonderful things. But somehow, to bring us, like, for instance, one of the only things we have left is the is the fishing club, and that's right over there.